Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of this week's episode of Game of Thrones on HBO. Episode 2, just 4 episodes left now, and it's called A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And that's right, just 4 episodes left and it's done. And based on the way this episode ended, I honestly just wish I could have stayed up all night and finished the show. I would have been fine with that. Hell of a cliffhanger. I don't remember the last time I used the phrase nail-biting to describe how I was feeling about how the show was going. But I'm using that here. I absolutely can't wait for next week's episode. It looks like it's going to be sort of one of the episodes of the final seasons, along with probably the final one or so. But yeah, this episode, though, like the premiere, I don't want to say setup episode, and then you have other people who would say it's a filler episode or sort of, to pad out the season. No. People behind Game of Thrones have mastered, placing moments within seasons for, roughly 8 years now, right? So if they have just 6 episodes, I'm sure they think, these character interactions we've gotten in the first couple are pretty necessary, and I think they are. You had Tyrion, Jaime, Brienne, and a bunch of others, drinking, and you just sort of get those character dynamics. Tormund, of course, you finally got to see the big woman again. But these are the kind of things we're gonna miss. Just the dialogue between these really layered, interesting, and just sort of entertaining to watch characters. And for a good chunk of them, I feel like this is the last time we're going to be able to enjoy a drink like that. For at least maybe half of them, or 90% of them, who knows, by the end of next week's episode. But I had no problems with this episode, and I really liked it. Of course, the title refers to Brienne finally being full-on knight, Sir Brienne, knighted by Jaime, which is a pretty sweet moment and sort of brings Brienne's whole story since we first seen her in the series, to a pretty good 360. And by that I mean like full circle, because that was like a sort of a dream or sort of this goal of hers ever since, to stand out from the others and go against what their society had regulated her to, even though she's risen through of her own accord completely all the way. This is something that definitely means a lot to her since the beginning, and Jaime being the one to do it is just about perfect. Like I said, the Tormund stuff, which was fun. Him talking about why he's so strong and tough. He suckled some giant's milk at one point in his youth, so there's that. There's that revelation in this episode, which made the whole thing. Another one of my favorite parts of the episode for me was the Hound, sitting up on the higher point of it, and Arya actually coming to visit him. Now, we had an interaction between the two last week, which was a little bit more brief, but we got a little bit more sort of in depth with it here, and I appreciate it. I always love the Hound and Arya dynamic, and Arya cares more about the Hound than she lets on, and we've seen a little bit of that this week. Arya questioned why the Hound was up there, up here, as in up north, because when's the last time he fought for anyone but himself, and he pointed out, I fought for you, and I think that's going to tie into what he does here as well. I see him sort of protecting Arya when the White Walkers get in, the dead, and everything like that. Although we still got to see the Clegane Bowl, so hoping he makes it a while longer, because he has every right to destroy and maim the mountain for a change. So I'm hoping we still get that confrontation. But either way, I think it's kind of tying into his sort of final arc in the show as well. Of course, Jaime himself, coming to Winterfell, they talk about the irony of all of them being there a few times throughout the episode, which is, fun. Just these characters that started from such like different angles and perspectives in the show are now in the same place fighting for Winterfell. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, Jaime himself, of course, kind of polarized with him being there. Tyrion keeps insisting on his, his true good nature when it comes down to it. Danny and Sansa aren't really buying into it, but it's, again, Brienne who speaks up to his honor and how he acts when it comes down to it. And, just sort of his change and sort of development throughout the series is kind of illustrated here, which I thought was pretty good. He's not the same man. So I like that as well, and I like that Sansa actually sort of, took a step back and, believed Bran completely when she insisted upon him as well. And now Daenerys. Daenerys in this episode. We have Jon, of course, tell her about his true parentage and stuff like that. And, people have been a bit troubled by Daenerys' response to that. Her first inkling, her first thing she says is, well, then you're the heir to the throne, or you have a claim to the throne. I don't know, I do think Jon is more selfless than someone like Daenerys when it comes to something like that. Jon doesn't even really want the throne, even at this point. He's just nervous and unsure of what to do or what he should do, and I think he's still trying to figure that out. But as a lot of people have been saying, I think he'd easily give up his claim or, his crown or whatever it is for his people or for the greater good. But Daenerys, it seems that the most important thing to her is the throne and, getting that back. Which seems kind of like a selfish, greedy thing on like the surface face value. But I'm still trying to give Daenerys the benefit of the doubt at least a little bit. And it does make sense, like Emilia Clarke, they just put out an interview with her, her kind of defending Daenerys' response. It's literally been, sort of her, sort of birth, birthright, you could say, like her, but I mean, like, that's been, like, what her whole life's been defined by, and that's what's, sort of propelled her to this point from the very beginning of the show, so it's sort of natural that, she would kind of jump to that, and as far as, oh, but wait, shouldn't she think about how that affects her love for Jon, who she claimed earlier was the main reason she was there? Yeah, I can kind of see that too, but really, I think it's also a case of, Daenerys is almost forced to marry her brother and things like that, so maybe she doesn't bat an eye at that kind of thing as much as, Jon and we would, perhaps. So I'm still trying to give Daenerys some, cut her some slack here, but we'll have to see how she acts when it comes down to it here. We'll see who actually makes it out of Winterfell to, take a shot at Cersei. We'll have to see about that. I'm very curious to see how the rest of the season's going to go, though, with there being 4 episodes left. It looks like we'll have the big battle at Winterfell next week. Very excited again to see stuff for sure. But then we still have Cersei and the Mountain, everything back in King's Landing. Do I think the whole Night King White Walker thing is going to be stopped here at Winterfell? You wouldn't think so. So I feel like that's still going to spill over and eventually reach King's Landing, which I think sort of has to happen, because I don't think they should just stop them here and then it's just like Cersei threat focused, Although it would make sense, we'll see. But I trust the writers of the show completely. I think they have something absolutely masterful up their sleeves, and I think the season's been very good so far. I don't get anyone who thinks it's been filler. If they think this is filler, they don't really understand the show and the nature of it. But yeah. So overall, this is another very good episode. Of course, he had Bran and his conversations with Jaime. It's not really Bran anymore, basically a shell of himself, and he tells him that a little bit. But it was just perfect when Jaime's presenting himself to Daenerys and Sansa. He just says the things we do for love, and just you can tell it gets Jaime, and it was just another really well done episode. We're gonna miss character moments like this, kind of slower, sort of more patient things like this when we're worried about characters left and right going forward in these next few episodes. So yeah. And then another major talking point that I'm glad I didn't forget about is, of course, Arya and Gendry. Which seemed to be the main point of discussion after the episode concluded. Apparently, like, Macy Williams' age was rapidly Googled during the scene. But yeah, Macy Williams is actually 22 years old. She's my age. So that's not an issue. And according to the wiki, Arya is actually 18 in the show. I'm not sure. But either way, I think she's still roughly around the age, and then you get the lawlessness and just sort of the how broken that society is. It's not that far-fetched. And also, I also read another interview that Macy Williams did, just saying how it's Arya trying to sort of connect with that sort of human emotion, sort of let herself feel that before, again, it's just, death, the way Gendry described fighting those things. So I think it makes sense, and if she was going to be with anyone, I think he's probably the only person that would really feel natural at all. So I think it was a good scene, and we didn't get any, sort of like full-on, nudity necessarily or anything either, and for me, it was just a bit uncomfortable at first, just because, like all of us, we've seen Arya, start off as this, little girl, and things like that, but at the same time, you kind of appreciate watching them grow up and actually sort of be able to feel these things for themselves before, whatever happens. So I was pretty fine with it. So yeah, overall, just another very good episode. That's just a major launching pad into the heartbreak we're probably about to see. But also intensity, edge of your seats, incredible stuff. So overall, I'm giving this episode a 9.2 out of 10. We'll be reviewing the rest of the episodes for sure. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Also, Theon and Sansa are pretty good in this one as well, and Theon planning to protect Bran as they don't want to use him as bait, but they know the Night King is attracted to Bran, so they're kind of trying to use that somehow. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Peace.